is very beginner friendly. I use Lion Brand's Rewind tape yarn, a 6mm crochet hook, and you will need a darning needle to complete this pattern. There's some very basic sewing just to attach the strap to the bag. This bag is worked in a couple of different sections. The strap is made separately. The body of the bag is worked in the round, and then there's a flap attached to the back that you add after you have completed the bag. As with all of my video tutorials and patterns, you can find the full written instructions on my website, www.lakesideloops.com. Everything there is free, the detailed instructions. This video tutorial will just go over that written pattern. It'll go over it in bits and pieces. So in order to make the bag, you do need the written instructions from my website. This video tutorial is just to help with that pattern. If you'd prefer, you can download a printable ad-free version of the pattern from Etsy or Ravelry, or like I said, the free pattern is on my blog. All right, so this pattern is very beginner friendly. As I said, the only stitches used are the single crochet, the slip stitch, and the chain stitch. So very basic. These are actually single crochets, these big chunky stitches here. The bag is worked in the round, sort of like an odd shaped hat when you first start the pattern. And then it's laid flat, and this stitching is added along the edge. Once it is laid flat, this belt is attached and this flap is added to the back so that when you do have things in the bag, they don't just fall out. And I did stitch this closed a little bit here again to help so that when you're using the bags, things just don't fall out when you're wearing it. All right, so as I said, the bag is constructed kind of similar if you've ever made a hat. So we actually start down here and we work in the round, creating the body of the bag around and around and around. And then once it's complete, we will fold it in half and seam around half of the folded circle or oval. It's kind of an odd hat shape. So we're going to be starting with this section here. And for round one, it says to chain 2. So I'm going to create a knot. And chain 2, 1, 2, and then work 6 single crochets into the second chain from the hook. So this is the first chain, second chain. So this first chain that's next to our knot here, we're going to work 6 single crochets into that chain. And this will create a little circle, because as we add single crochets, they're sort of all pushing to the side, and we are just naturally working in a circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So once you have 6, you are going to slip stitch into your first single crochet. So this one's always a little tricky for me to get into, so I have to use my fingernail sometimes. So into that first single crochet, slip stitch, and that's the beginning of round 1. Round 2, we're going to chain 1, and into that same stitch that we worked our slip stitch to join our previous round, we're going to add 2 single crochets. 1, whoop. Oh gosh, I promise this isn't this difficult in real life. It's just really hard when I'm looking through a video screen. My depth perception's a little off. So 2 single crochets into that stitch and 2 single crochets into each stitch all the way around. All right, so as you can see, I've skipped ahead and I've completed the first 6 rounds. You can count your rounds by each circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As you can see, we're working in the round just to create a simple flat circle. And this is the bottom part of our bag. Now I'm going to show you our next couple of rounds involve these big puffy stitches, which are actually just a simple single crochet. It's just the placement that makes it look or that makes it a bigger stitch. So for round 7, this is where it gets a little bit different. As I said, we're going to chain 1. We're going to single crochet in the same stitch, so just like we've been doing all along, working a single crochet into there. And now we're going to single crochet over the next stitch. So typically we would work into the stitch right here, but we're going to be working over this entire stitch. So we're going to insert our hook at the bottom of the stitch. So take a look at your stitch and take a look at where it starts into this hole right here. So this is where I'm going to put my hook. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull it through, and I'm going to bring my yarn up as high as my previous stitch. So drag it up a little bit more than you normally would, yarn over and pull through to complete your single crochet. Now you're going to single crochet into the next stitch, just like normal. And then again, we're going to single crochet over the next stitch. So instead of working into my stitch, I'm going to be working over the entire thing. So as you can see, this stitch starts down here. This is the bottom of the stitch. I'm going to insert my hook into there, grab my yarn and pull it through, up nice and high, yarn over and pull through to complete my single crochet. And as you can see, I'm getting these really cool kind of puffy looking single crochet stitches. So I'm just going to continue that all the way around, single crocheting into one stitch, and then single crocheting over the next stitch. Into one, over the next one. And that is how we create this puffy stitch look. So all of these rounds where you see this puffy stitch, these are just one single crochet, one single crochet over. There are no increases in these rounds. And that's kind of what gives us not a flat circle, but it starts to curve. Instead of it being a flat circle like this, it starts to curve up and create this shape. So these rounds are where we'll be doing our increases, just when it's just the basic single crochet, and then these rounds are just stitch for stitch. So the stitch count stays the same when you're working these rounds. There are no increases. And we're just going to create this shape. All right, so I love this part of the pattern because this is where it goes from kind of looking like an oddly shaped hat to what I think is a really cute little shaped bag. So you're going to take your oddly shaped hat and you're going to fold it in half. The entire circumference, the entire top of this hat is 72 single crochets. So you want to see about 36 single crochets on each side. You want to try to fold it as evenly as possible. The first time I tried this, I tried it with a few more stitches in the front and a little bit less in the back, thinking that the shape would be great, but it didn't sit very well on the body. So I find it best to fold it completely in half, even number of stitches in the back as you have in the front. And then once you have it folded in half, really press down and make sure it's nice and flat. And what you're going to do is you are going to single crochet all along the edge of your bag when it's folded flat. So you're going to start here and working into about every round, you are going to single crochet the front and the back side together so that you're creating this edging all the way around. And I'll show you here, I'm almost done, what this looks like. So as you can see, I've got another row here, so I'm going to insert my hook into the row on this side and somewhere into the row on the back side. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull it through and complete a single crochet. And I've got room for another stitch here. So again, I've inserted my hook into the front of my bag. It's come through to the back side. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull it through and complete a single crochet. This doesn't need to be perfect. you may be able to fit an extra single crochet in. It's not going to matter if you have the exact same stitch count that I do. I will tell you what mine is, but it doesn't matter if you have an extra stitch or one less thrown in. It'll all kind of equal out in the end. You see here how I have some smaller ones and then some that are more stretched out for these sort of taller rounds. So it all will equal itself out in the end. But I think that that gives a really finished look to the bag. All right, so now that we've completed the body of our bag and we've single crocheted all the way around the edge, we had folded it in half, we are going to create a flap closure. So as the bag is, if you were to wear it, if you were to wear it like this, around, this is, imagine your torso, and you're wearing like this, things are gonna fall out. That's not gonna work. So we need to create a flap closure. So we're gonna build off of the front side of the bag to create a flap that will fold over the bag, so that when you're wearing it, things don't just fall out. So working on the good side of our bag, our seam is on the back side. Sorry, seam's over here. Seam's on the back side of the bag, and our good side has no seam, nice and cute. You are going to attach your yarn over here, around, so you're going to skip the first 2 stitches. So it's kind of, because we single crochet, it's kind of hard to see where the first 2 stitches are, but there's a stitch here and a stitch here, and so we attached our yarn here and we worked around this 3rd stitch. So we're back post single crocheting all along this front edge of the bag. So I'll show you what a back post single crochet looks like. I'm almost done. So I'm going to insert my hook from the back to the front and then back again. I'm going to grab my yarn, pull it through, and then yarn over and pull through. So I'm working around the back of the post. So again, my hook starts in the back, comes to the front, then goes back around to the back of my work where I grab my yarn and pull it across the front and then back out to the back, and I yarn over and pull through. So you want to stop right about here where you still have 2 stitches left. Again, it's hard to see because we single crocheted around, but there's 2 stitches there, and you can also rely on the stitch count in the written pattern. It is 32 back post single crochets you should have completed. Now we are going to chain 1, flip it around. So we're going to be working in rows here. And now we're going to be single crocheting into all of these back post single crochets that we just made. So we're not crocheting into the bag, we're crocheting into these back post single crochet stitches, and we're going to be decreasing. We don't want to create a rectangular flap because when we fold that over the bag, you're going to see the corners. So we don't want that. We want to create sort of an angle here. So we want the sides to taper so that when we fold it over our bag, you won't see this flap. So for every row that we do, we're going to skip the first stitch. So normally you'd crochet right into here. Let me get that a little closer. Normally you'd crochet right into here. We're going to skip that, and we're simply going to single crochet into the next stitch. And that's all you do. So we're just going to work up a few rows. You'll see in the written instructions how many you're going to do. And with every row, you just skip that first space, that first opportunity to single crochet, and eventually the edges of your flap will taper in. All right, so I've skipped ahead here again, and this is what it looks like when you finish your little flap. So you were decreasing all along, and when it's folded over, it looks like this. You could add buttons or a button to your bag if you wanted to secure a little more, or a magnet or Velcro. Those are all options, but I find when I'm wearing the bag, because this is pressed between my body and the bag, it doesn't move. It stays folded over like this, and it's really easy to get into. So this is what it looks like from the back, and from the front you can't even really tell that that flap is there because of the way that we added it to the bag. All right, so here I have a completed strap, and I just wanted to show you a little detail that you can add to make it look even more polished. So this is my last row, and as you can see, the stitches are facing up. If I show you the other side, do you see the difference? How you can see the back loop and the front loop on this side of the work, and you can't see that on the other side. So you want this side facing up so you can see the back loop and the front loop of your stitches on your last row. And then what I did was I slip stitched all along the bottom, so all along my first row. And that just made it a little extra sturdy, and I liked how it sort of matched, the beginning and the end match one another, and it looks a little more complete and polished. So again, just slip stitching along this first row that you made just makes it look a little more finished. All right, and now I'm just attaching my strap to my bag. So I already made sure that this was a good fit for me. I held the bag up to myself. I wrapped this around my shoulder and made sure that this strap was a good size. I would recommend doing that before you do the work of sewing it onto the bag. Just make sure that this is what you're looking for in terms of size. What I did was I threaded a piece of yarn through my darning needle, and I just whip stitched really basic. Because we're using the same kind yarn and because there's so much texture to this, you're not going to see your stitches. There's really a large margin for error here. So just anywhere, go through a hole in your handle and then a hole on the front of the bag. So I'm attaching them kind of behind. This is the front side and I'm attaching it just behind the edge there. And then again, just anywhere you see an opening, and so on until your strap is attached to each side of the bag. All right, so after I made my bag, I still didn't feel like this flap secured the contents inside of the bag. So I wanted to sew up the ends of the bag a little bit just so that this opening wasn't so grand and it wasn't so easy for things to slip out. Once I sewed this up a little bit, I found that things definitely did not fall out of the bag when I was wearing it. So I would recommend just grabbing your darning needle and working through from side to side. So going, into this stitch, through to the other side here. And so I just went around like that. I did, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did about 8 stitches, 8 to 10 stitches on each side, so that I had a nice big opening. I could fit my wallet and things in here, but things couldn't just easily fall out of the bag. And that is it for this video tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed the pattern and that this video made it a little bit easier to understand. I would love to see your finished bag, so please tag me at Lakeside Loops. I hope that you enjoy the pattern as much as I enjoyed making it, and that the bag is useful to you this summer. I know I'm excited to wear mine, and both of my girls have already requested one for each of them. So